Hello, fifth graders. This is Miss Advina, and it's time to look at Unit 2, Week 3, Lesson 3, and get those dendrites stretching and synapses snapping. Our objectives for today are I will be able to analyze illustrations and make predictions about the text, read to identify and annotate key events, share my understanding with my classmates, use key events to summarize a text, and write to demonstrate my knowledge of key events. Now remember, boys and girls, you can pause this recording at any time. You can also rewind if you've missed anything, or if I'm going a little too fast, go back and re-listen to some of what I've said. Now let's keep on going and keep those synapses a-snapping. So we know what our objectives are. Our very next thing to do is to go and get your textbook out. We're looking at developing characters' relationships. This is Unit 2. Now, because I'm going to be doing this online so that you can see it with me, it's going to look a little different this time. In the past, I've done it with the physical book with you, but now we're going to go ahead and jump online and have some of these lessons recorded so that you can rewind and go back to it as often as you need to. I'm going to go ahead and jump on over to page 22. Tom's Secret. What I want you to do right now is I want you to go through the text, make some predictions. Who are the main characters in this selection? What time of day do many of the events take place? What is the mood of the story? You're going to make these predictions by previewing the illustrations, looking at what's on the page, doing a little dip into the text and getting some of the gist of what's going on. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and do a quick preview. Welcome back. Now, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and turn this page. Our purpose for this first read is I'm going to be modeling reading through paragraph 9 of Tom's Secret to identify what Tom's secret is, how he feels about it, and what he plans to do about it. While I'm reading, I'm going to be annotating. I need to underline and number key events. There is a sequence to what happens, so by numbering those key events, I can keep track of what's going on. So I'm going to read through the introduction. In the following excerpts, Tom and Huck make a plan to search for a chest of gold coins that a thief, disguised as a Spaniard, and his accomplice have hidden somewhere in town. The boys spied the two men digging up the gold and overheard their plans to hide it. Though Tom and Huck are nervous about the risks of going in search of the stolen treasure, they are eager to find it. Will they succeed? So I learned what Tom's secret is in the introduction. Actually, it's his and Huck's secret. They know about a treasure that is hidden somewhere. It says the boys spied two men digging up gold and overheard their plans to hide it. This is a key event because without it, the rest of the selection wouldn't make sense. So I'm going to underline it. I go over to my tools. I'm going to go ahead and pull out my line. And I'm going to change this color to blue. So everything I do today is going to be in blue. So here's the piece that I wanted to underline. The boys spied two men digging up the gold and overheard, I need to get that line again, and overheard their plans to hide it. So that's a pretty important event. I want to make sure that I get that underlined. Now I can go on to paragraph 1. And I'm going to read through paragraph 1 by itself. I'm going to stop at the end and see if there's anything really important there. Tom and Huck resolved to keep a lookout for that Spaniard when he should come to town, spying out for chances to do his revengeful job, and follow him to number 2, whatever that might be. Then a ghastly thought occurred to Tom. Well, I'm reading through that paragraph 1, and in the first sentence, Tom and Huck make a decision about what they plan to do. Keep an eye out for the Spaniard. This is a key event because it will affect events that follow. I'll underline this sentence. Keep a lookout for that Spaniard when he should come to town, spying out for chances to do his revengeful job. Now, I don't know what his revengeful job is, but I know that that's a key detail. I'm going to leave it at that part. Now I'm going to go on to I'm going to go to paragraphs 2 through 5. Now, because this is a conversation, I'm going to read it together. Revenge? What if he means us, Huck? Oh, don't, said Huck, nearly fainting. They talked it all over, and as they entered town, they agreed to believe that he might possibly meet somebody else. At least that he might at least mean nobody but Tom, since only Tom had testified. And I see that there's a footnote here, so I'm going to come down here and see what that footnote is about. Testified. In an earlier chapter, Tom testified against Indian Joe in a murder trial. That means that he was a witness to something, and he told the truth. So now I'm going to come back up here. Very, very small comfort it was to Tom to be alone in danger. Company would be a palpable improvement, he thought. Now, the conversation in paragraphs 2 and 3 express Tom and Huck's worries, but it does not contain an event that will affect the characters or future events. In paragraph 4, I will underline the other decision Tom and Huck make, to believe the Spaniard might be planning revenge on someone else. So I come over here, get my tool. They agreed to believe that it might possibly mean somebody else. So I'm going to underline that piece. That seems like a really important piece of information. Again, this decision may influence how the boys behave later. And paragraph 5 once again expresses a feeling, but it does not include a key event. So now I'm going to go on to paragraphs 6 through 9 from chapters 27. The adventure of the day I'm going to go back. The adventure of the day mightily tormented Tom's dreams that night. 4 times he had his hands on the rich treasure, and 4 times it wasted to nothingness in his fingers as he slept. Sleep forsook him, and wakefulness brought back the hard reality of his misfortune. Now, I got a little bit mixed up when I was reading that sentence, so I'm going to go back and start at the beginning so that I can have a really clear idea of what it's saying in my mind. 4 times he had his hands on that rich treasure, and 4 times it wasted to nothingness in his fingers as sleep forsook him, and wakefulness brought back the hard reality of his misfortune. As he lay in the early morning recalling the incidents of his great adventure, he noticed that they seemed curiously subdued and far away, somewhat as if they had happened in another world or in a long time gone by. Then it occurred to him that the great adventure itself must be a dream. There was one very strong argument in favor of this idea, namely that the quantity of coin he had seen was too vast to be real. He had never seen as much as $50 in one mass before, and he was like all boys of his age and station in life, in that he imagined that all references to hundreds and thousands were mere fanciful forms of speech, and that no such sums really existed in the world. Now I'm going over to paragraph 8. He never had supposed for a moment that so large a sum as $100 was to be found in actual money in anyone's possession. If his notion of hidden treasure had been analyzed, they would have been found to consist of a handful of real dimes and a bushel of vague, splendid, ungraspable dollars. But the incident of his adventures grew subtly sharper and clearer under the attrition of thinking them over, and so he presently found himself leaning to the impression that the thing might not have been a dream after all. This uncertainty must be swept away. He would snatch a hurried breakfast and go and find Huck. Huck was sitting on the gunwale of a flatboat, listlessly dangling his feet in the water and looking very melancholy. Tom concluded to let Huck lead up to the subject. If he did not do it, then the adventure would be proved to have been only a dream. So this whole section goes together, because at the very beginning of it, in paragraphs 6 through 9, Tom wonders if the previous day's adventures really happened. The author gives an explanation of Tom's chain of thoughts, or his dream, but the key events come towards the end of paragraph 9. So I want to underline where it comes at the very beginning, where it says the adventure of the day mightily tormented Tom's dreams that night. Because I want to remember that this didn't actually happen. At this point, Tom is just simply dreaming. I wouldn't want to miss out on the fact that this is a dream and take this as actually having taken place. So I'm going to underline the adventure of the day mightily tormented Tom's dreams that night. That seems to be a key event, that this is actually just a dream. And then I'm going to come down to where he's not dreaming, and he goes and sees Huck. So right here, where Tom concluded to let Huck lead up to the subject. If he did not do it, then the adventure would be proved to have been only a dream. So this is happening in real life at this point. And I'm underlining those two sentences because they are key to what's going on. And this is going to be the transition into the next scene, which is the conversation that they're going to be having on the boat. So at this point, I'm going to go back and look and see, do I have all the key events? So if I read just the underline, I should see that it contains the information I need to see what's going on. The boy spied the two men digging up the gold and overheard their plans to hide it. They kept a lookout for that Spaniard when he should come to town, spying out for chances to do his revengeful job. They agreed to believe that he might possibly mean somebody else that he's going to get revenge on. And the adventure of the day mightily tormented Tom's dreams that night. And then going on to the very next one, the next page. Tom concluded to let Huck lead up to the subject. If he did not do it, then the adventure would be proved to have been only a dream. So I have it said read through paragraphs 9 of Tom's secret to identify what Tom's secret is. how he feels about it, and what he plans to do about it. And I underlined but I didn't number the key events. So that would be my next step, would be to go through and actually number all of the key events. And that would mean going through and simply putting my 1, 2, and 3, the introduction being my first event. Let me see if I can get my text. So this right here would be number 1. And this over here would be, well, this kind of goes with that one. Number 2 would be this one down here. Actually, that wouldn't be number 2. Number 1 is everything at that very beginning part. Oh, and let me get over. Might be easier just to put a 2 right here. Oh, that's a interesting 2, but it will work. And I'm going to put a 1 right here. And now I'm going to go over to the next page and put that 3 in where it belongs, where he goes and sees Huck. And I can use the pen just as well as I can use my keyboard. There we go. Not the neatest, but it works for the annotation part. Okay, boys and girls, let's remember what our objectives were. And we were aiming for, I will be able to analyze illustrations and make predictions about the text, read to identify and annotate key events, share my understanding with my classmates, use key events to summarize text, and write to demonstrate my knowledge of key events. We're going to do these last 3 in the very next video segment. Until then, keep those dendrites stretching and synapses snapping.